Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to the latest episode of Good Morning Source Gaming. I'm your host, Nantendrex, and I'm about to jump in and join the rest of them. Give me one sec. Boom, and we're live. It's here, me, with Spazzy D and Hamada. Say hello, guys.
Hey!
Hey.
Guys,
Hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Perfect. So I was anticipating this question. Why are we doing this on a Monday? And well, yeah, it is in fact a Monday, but it's also a bank holiday across a lot of the world. I'm not actually sure if it's a bank holiday in Europe, but it is in the UK and America. And we haven't done a Good Morning Source Gaming in the last 3 weeks. And so we were just thinking, you know what? We all got a day off on the Monday. So let's just throw one together and do it then. And just do a quick Good Morning Source Gaming now. And
Plus, it's not like we're going to be going to the beach or anything, so,
yeah, there's not really exactly a massive amount to do on this day off. Despite being I'm still technically working. I'm just trying to plow through as much Source Gaming work as I need that needs doing.
Yeah, it is... I'm for those of you that don't know, I live in South Florida, and it is raining something awful. So yeah,
it's really nice and sunny here. It's been an
Raining here,
absolute nightmare. Like as soon as everyone got locked inside, it's been basically non-stop sun in the UK, which is really unusual. We have had the odd rain, of course, but it's been more nice weather than it has not, which is just upsetting.
yeah. I mean, in Miami, you basically have 2 seasons: hurricane season and not hurricane season, and we're heading into hurricane season. So.
Do you guys? I see people sort of calling it Is it Memorial Day for you guys in?
Yes, it is Memorial Day. It is the day that we, I guess, remember the fallen soldiers, or I don't know if it's a day to remember the fallen or just a day to commemorate, the war efforts in general. I believe it's to commemorate those who have fallen in wars.
Okay, I'm trying to think if that's what ours is called. Because we tend to call days off like this bank holidays. Because because banks would go on holidays and thus everyone gets to go on holidays.
Yeah, it's a term used in the United States too. Like that's what we would call it, because you have your holidays that aren't necessary. That you don't necessarily get it off, but it's still a holiday.
Yeah, I think this is literally just called the spring bank holiday. It was just the day in the season of spring that. Banks got to have the day off.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if looking it up that the reason that the United States decided to do Memorial Day this day was because it coincided with some other stuff. Because it's just like a day to commemorate those who have fallen in American wars. But you could have done that at any time.
I mean, it is a bit random all over the place. Like I know in Italy, Germany, and Ireland. So I'm going to assume it's the rest of Europe as well. They took the day off last Thursday instead.
Yeah, because I think what it is that this is like the unofficial start of summer.
But it's the spring bank holiday.
Yeah, so exactly. I think that they have... I think that's why there's a lot of holidays today.
Although, I guess for Hamada, for you... it doesn't matter whether or not it's a holiday right now, does it?
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a holiday.
I think this is the same for a lot of people. It's just everything's blending together. Some people apparently didn't even know it was Monday in the chat. So
obviously it was Monday. We used a Garfield graphic on the thumbnail.
Of course, it should have been the most obvious. Good morning, Spill Pates. Good to see you here.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to, and I think you have too, to just have the sort of job for my regular 9-to-5 job where it's just we can work remote. So not much has changed in my life. I just can't go out.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing. Mine's because my work's gotten busier because people want more stuff doing now that they can't work properly.
Yeah, me too. Without getting too much into what I normally do. Yeah, it's been busy.
Well, thankfully for me at least, my work was everyone cancelled their holidays, of course, because they can't go anywhere. So my work started enforcing that we had to at least take a week off at some point during this thing. So I decided to take next Friday off for a week. Perfectly timed for the release of Xenoblade Chronicles. So that's what my week's going to be starting from Friday. I'm literally just going to plop myself on the couch, get Xenoblade up, and put 100 hours of holiday time into.
I had a couple days off for E3, but that's not happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, I originally took that off as well, and I've since moved that to this week for Xenoblade. I was going to take like a half week and then take another half week off a week later.
Yeah,
but
I'm excited for Xenoblade. I think everyone in this chat is, and by that chat I mean the people on this podcast, not necessarily
everyone in the world should be excited for Xenoblade.
I hope it does good numbers. I don't know. Me
too. I mean, every Xenoblade has done better since the last. Like, they've increasingly sold more. And this is the Xenoblade 1 is still the best Xenoblade. So I'm hoping more people play this one and then are like, oh my god, this series is amazing. And then that'll make the next one even better.
The character design and the actual characters themselves are so much better. And I know a lot of people are like, Xenoblade fans, you only like Xenoblade so much because you haven't played the other Xeno games. Well, I have played Xenogears and at least the first Xeno Saga. And I still like the first Xenoblade more than any of them because it has the most likable character. It's like literally a game that made me like JRPGs again because it's just like you like hanging around with these characters. And I think a lot of it is the localization. It's a game that I would definitely always use the English voices for. Because they did a great job. Like a character like Ryan could have been really awful if not handled the way that he was handled.
Ryan, best boy. I can't wait to revisit the Ryan time.
I've never played any of the Xenoblade games, but I'm definitely looking forward to the definitive edition. I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy, but it is on my radar. I am hoping to get it.
You should. If you're gonna get any, if you're gonna play any Xeno game, it is that one is the one that you want to play. Now that it's obviously the previous recommendation was 2 because that was the one that was easier to get a hold of, but this one will now be the easiest one to get a hold of. So absolutely get the first game.
Well, if you had a Wii U, I believe that the original Xenoblade was a Wii Classic. You could.
Yeah, they added it eventually.
Yeah. But that one was always, even at the time it came out, it was really rough to look at. So it needed the remaster.
Yeah, it did. It's incredible looking at previous screenshots of the Xenoblade on the Wii and then looking at the remaster and seeing how good it looks now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Hamada.
Okay. I was saying, I don't mean to downplay whoever says that the old version had more personality, but I just think it's kind of ridiculous because the new versions just look really good compared to the older. They're like single.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
But
yeah,
the original has its charms from looking dated, but it still looks dated. Like it objectively looks worse. It just has a subjective charm to it that.
Yeah, the art style is less. I mean, it's still anime. When people say it's not anime, it's still anime, but it's less, I guess, of your typical JRPG anime. Like it looks less like it could come from like a Tales of game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get that people like how it used to look. So discounting Saga and Gears for a minute. I think that the first Xenoblade's definitely the best one. Some people like the combat better in 2. I like X, but X doesn't have as good of a X is overwhelming.
Yeah,
X is an overwhelming game.
X is an MMO without the online component.
There's so many customization options. It's I never finished it. I only got about 20 hours in, and I'm like, I just can't. I hope it one day gets ported to Switch so I can give it another shot. But it's like, and you could have your, I don't even remember what it called, but like you could join like your little like leagues or whatever. There's so much in that game, and the actual story is kind of whatever. And then 2, I feel like is a bit much, like with the character design and some other things. Like I feel like the characters in 1 are a lot better.
Yeah, I mean,
I would say interested in 2. I'm sorry, but like the thing is, I was interested in 2, but the problem is I kind of live in a house with other people, obviously, and like if you have an anime game, it's really easy to make fun of you for it. So that's why
people just need
stayed
to
away
grow
from
up
Xenoblade.
and accept that people like this stuff. Although I do get 2 is definitely the most
But the thing is, like,
anime
I
of
don't
it,
really
but
like
they clearly
about
did
it
it because like the first one
I
looked a bit dated, and they didn't actually have character designs for the first one, which is quite funny. And then the second one, the characters look strange. I mean, if you've played 2, it kind of actually makes sense why they all look like dolls, basically. Like there is an actual... I don't know if it's an intended explanation. I don't know if this was all done on purpose, but the characters look weird and you can sort of pass it off. But I think X looks the worst out of the 3 of them, even if I think Elma is a better designed... Like, it's like the designs in X are better than the ones in 2, but the models and the looks of the ones in 2 are better than the ones in X. And then the first game's just better than both of them.
It's really easy for just other people. Like you could really just pass off a design as like Melia, for example. She just looks fine, but like if Delia from 2 shows up on your screen, there's no explanation that it's kind of...
Yeah, also that was another thing, is that the handheld mode was rough for it too.
Yeah.
From my understanding, they're actually... Okay, also here's another thing. The second best Xenoblade game is definitely Torna. Torna was so much better than Xenoblade 2.
Torna is really good. Torna is like the best combat of the series.
And apparently, I saw this, and it was, I think, from like a Ninty tweet, so I don't know if it's true or not. I'd have to really look it up. But apparently they created an entirely new engine for Torna that was separate from the main game engine, and that's actually the engine that the remake is built on.
Huh,
wow.
interesting. That's good. That's
why
really
it
good.
runs a little better.
That's some ambitious DLC. Although I know there could be more, but still.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm probably just gonna play Future Connected and then not get to the main game for a long time.
Yeah,
because I don't want to get the spoilers.
Can you just play Future Connected from the start?
Yes, it is unlockable from the start, so I will just play that, and then when I get a chance to just replay Xenoblade, I'll do it. I have too much of a backlog right now.
I mean, that's my problem, but I've been rushing through a lot of the games that I needed to do on my backlog, and I wasn't planning on starting any more like Bloodstained or or maybe I'll start Layton as a like side thing. But like I wasn't gonna start anything so I could just play through Xenoblade Chronicles. But now I'm debating, because I've obviously beaten the game, so I'm debating, do I just start with Future Connected to avoid spoilers and then finish that and then go back and play the first just Xenoblade from the start?
Yeah, because I already know what happened in Xenoblade. So.
Yeah, same. But like there's a part of me inside that's like, no, you have to play it in order. You have to play all 100 hours of the first game before going into Future Connected.
You need to have the full experience in order as intended.
Yeah.
Player. Which is what's good for me, that I never played it. It's paying off.
If you've never played it, you have to play it in order. Like, dear God. But because I know how the game ends, I'm like fine with doing it this way.
Know a lot of the spoilers.
I assume there'll be some slight spoilers in Future Connected for Xenoblade 2 as well. I'm assuming.
Probably. I mean, I'm assuming that Future Connected connects it to 2.
Yeah.
Like
maybe it connects it to X. Wouldn't that be weird?
Oh, that would be funny. Put X into this. I mean, maybe the next game is going to be Xenoblade X squared or Y or whatever. And
yeah,
this is the hint for it.
I really want them to port that, because I mean, I guess I could just play the Wii U version.
I know. I feel like porting it's going to be difficult, simply because like even when it came out on the Wii U, there was like a 30 gigabyte download you needed if you wanted it to run well. On top of it being on a disc, so it being on a cartridge and then having it, I mean, I suppose that's what all third-party games do, but it doesn't seem like the Nintendo way of doing things. It might just be too much of a hassle.
Didn't they straight up say that they don't think they'd be able to port it because of how much trouble it already was? So, and I think when they pretty much already say, lower your expectations, that fate is probably sealed. I think X will probably gonna have to wait until they just make a brand new X if they do.
Yeah, I think they should just focus on making a brand new X. It's not like you miss much from the story in X, because it barely has one.
They could do Kingdom Hearts style and just give you a little video of the story.
Yeah. Last time on Xenoblade X, humans arrived on the planet. I forgot what its name was, and they got chased down
New
by
Los
their
Angeles.
pursuers. Yeah, and they defeated their pursuers. But oh no, I'm not going to spoil it actually, just in case someone's not played it. But it's literally all
Which
you
I'm
need
sure
is that
most
they
people
they,
for Wii
they
U
built
game.
up New Los Angeles, made friends with local aliens, and spoiler. And then that's the get, and then now we're at Y.
That's pretty much how Devil May Cry 5 just swept DMC2 under the rug.
Yeah.
Next.
And then they fought a bunch of demons for a little while. And
Yeah.
then Devil May Cry 4 happened.
I'm always a
I
little
remember that.
concerned with sequels, especially numbered sequels, and I guess that's why companies do this. If you call something Devil May Cry 5, there's always especially for adventure or action, and doubly so for RPGs. For a fighting game, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like, there's always that thought of, ooh, should I go back and play the other ones? You know?
Well, I mean, I suppose it depends on the reputation, because I don't think people are sitting there being like, oh man, I want to play Final Fantasy 15, but I haven't played 1 through 14 yet, so I should probably
Right,
go...
but people are definitely like, ooh, Kingdom Hearts 3, what the hell do I have to play?
I mean, that's different, because Kingdom Hearts... It'd be easy to think, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3, I guess I need to play 1 and 2, and then Nomura steps in from the side and is like, and drops a folder with 9 other games in it in front of them.
So, but here's the thing. Do you think that will hurt a game like Metroid Prime 4 when it comes out? Do you think people will be like,
unless they make a trilogy unless they just re-release the trilogy like they should?
yeah, but then people
I think
still,
it could
but
hurt for it,
but
they
people, right? But people don't necessarily want to go ahead and buy and play 3 Metroid games, which are substantially large games. I know. I'm just saying in general. I'm talking about general sales. Do you think having just that 4 in the title will intimidate some people and affect it in some way? In some way that, like, Fire Emblem 3 Houses doesn't have to worry because each one's just whatever. It's Fire Emblem 3 Houses, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on the game. Like Dragon Quest 11, no one really cared about the 10 other ones, and like
right, but that's
obviously in terms
different.
of
Once again, all of
people
those are self-contained. Although, having played the first 3 Dragon Quests now and starting 11, like, those 3 in particular seem to have a lot of little, like, callbacks, but it's its own individual adventure. And I guess you could say the same about Metroid, but the difference is you're still Samus. Like, you know what I'm saying? And the events of the previous games did happen.
I mean, yeah, I get your point, right?
Silence.
Yeah, I think it's a matter
Sorry.
of it. Like, there's some element of just people needing to look at sort of figure it out for themselves, because like Metroid Prime 4, I'm sure you could almost definitely play it not having played any of the previous Prime games, and it would still make sense. Whereas obviously if you play Prime 3, it's a better experience if you've played Prime 1 and Prime 2 ahead of time. But I don't think that's necessarily anything that's very difficult to look up. Even if you were buying in store as an impulse buy, if you really wanted to know, I'm sure you could ask the guy behind the counter and they would probably know whether you should be playing Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3 first.
I think that definitely it's something that can be handled by like a 5-minute cinematic.
Yeah.
Like
with Prime 3, the only big connected thread was Dark Samus being in both of them. Like the Ing from 2 were ignored. So I'm thinking, kind of like how Prime 3 was even meant to be like, more accessible because it was on the Wii. So you didn't need to have played the others, right? So I think the Prime games are kind of more self-contained than you're giving them credit for.
I mean, they are, but I'm talking more about perception because I'm thinking about sales. Because the weird thing about the Switch is that there's always this old adage that software sells hardware, which is true. Hey, if the system has all these games, that's why people buy it. However, I feel like the Switch hardware sells software, and so many games have been the best-selling games in their series. 3 Houses is going to end up being the best-selling Fire Emblem. Animal Crossing, I know there were other circumstances, but it is blowing away every other Animal Crossing. Pokemon's not going to be the top, but it's going to be like top 4, which is really impressive. Mario and Zelda, 3D Mario and Zelda both blew away expectations. And I feel like if Metroid Prime 4 is of the same quality in relation to the series as Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, Smash Ultimate's another one, which is a tall order. But if it is, and it's possible because they're giving it time, this could easily be a Metroid that breaks records and sells, I'll say, like 5 to 6 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to watch from a sales perspective. Like, and I'm one of those people that kind of likes numbers, so I like to follow and see where things go.
I mean, I guess the way to sort of figure this out and see is there's obviously rumors that there's also Mercury Steam working on Metroid 5, and that won't be called Metroid 5. That will have a subtitle like other Metroid games, whatever that is. So you could almost see see how much Prime 4 sells, see how much Metroid 5 sells, and which one sells more. I mean, there's obviously other factors to consider, like the fact that Prime 4 is a first-person shooter, and the other Metroid game will be a 2D platformer, and also like what else is coming out at the time, which one comes out first, etc. But that is one way to figure it out, I guess.
I don't necessarily think that things will like that having a number in the title it really affects things that much for every game. But like, just think about it. The only big Switch seller that has a number is Mario Kart.
Yeah,
and that's Mario Kart. Who the hell cares what Mario Kart you're on? I don't care about the overarching story of Mario Kart.
Oh man, people really should though. I mean, it's a very deep, fascinating lore.
Metroid is so here's a funny funny fact. So the best-selling F-Zero game has outsold the best-selling Metroid game.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
didn't know that.
But F-Zero was a huge title on. But here's why. On the SNES. Let me look up the sales numbers real quick.
Is it the SNES one that is the best-selling one, or is it X?
It's the SNES one because it was a launch title.
Ah, right. Okay.
It was a launch title showing off. Yeah.
I was going to say the SNES launched with like 3 or 4 games, and in like some regions it didn't actually get another Nintendo game for like an entire year.
Yeah.
Like, was it F-Zero, Pilot Wings, and Super Mario World? Was there one other?
Yeah, like if you look at the original F-Zero sold 2.85 million copies. And then after that, it like struggled to get like around 1 million. N64, like F-Zero X got 1.1, Maximum Velocity got 1.05, and then everything else is under that.
I mean, it's a Punch-Out situation where the first Punch-Out definitely sold like the best outsold so many other games, and then every other Punch-Out since has just not hit that same marker at all.
Yeah, and then the thing about Metroid is that the top selling games are actually Metroid Prime. Prime, Metroid. Super Metroid actually is not that high, which is sad, but I'm sure through rebuying it's been a lot higher.
Yeah, I think
Prime
it's
is
one that...
2.82 million. As opposed to F-Zero's 2.85 million. So yeah, like, but Metroid games more consistently sell about like 1.5 million to like 2.5 million. Like they're in that range. So they're not huge sellers. I think they're more. It's like, I think they're valuable to Nintendo almost in the way that like Oscar movies are valuable. You know, you release let's say like a Jojo Rabbit. Disney was releasing a Jojo Rabbit under the Fox banner. It's not going to make as much money as Taika's new Thor movie, but it's still valuable because it's a different type of movie. It gets award buzz. It provides legitimacy. And I feel like Metroid provides legitimacy to Nintendo. Oh, it's like more of a hardcore gaming franchise. It's more of a premier franchise. And I think it can. I think it's got such good name recognition that I think the right game in that series can sell like 5 million or above.
I think the Metroid series is like a borderline A-tier franchise. It's a weird one because it's in the Game Boy Advance and GameCube era, when Metroid Prime was first coming out and the Game Boy Advance was getting Metroid Fusion and Zero Mission, and then the DS got Prime Hunters. Like, Metroid was a big franchise for Nintendo at the time. And we were actually having this conversation yesterday in Discord that Nintendo effectively oversaturated the market with Metroid games. Like, you had Prime 1 and Fusion that both... Think about it, Prime 1 and Fusion both released on, like, the same day. And then you had Zero Mission, like, a year later, and then Prime 2 just after that. And then Prime Hunters was an early DS title, and then Prime 3 was meant to be a Wii launch title, but it didn't. But they did Prime Pinball that came out between them two. And then
Don't forget
after,
about Other M.
and then after Prime 3, they started Federation Force development of it, intending to release that on DS as well. And then Other M came out. Like, this is all in like the span of 8 years. Obviously, Mario gets loads of stuff as well, and Zelda also got lots of, in that time. Zelda got what? Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Four Swords Adventure, Minish Cap,
crossbow training,
yeah.
And, yeah, I guess they were trying to use their biggest, most hardcore-looking franchise at the time to really, push that hardcore audience closer to them, because you could see Metroid as like their flagship. But I really like the idea that Metroid is used as like a brand recognition, trying to increase their legitimacy. I never really thought of that, and that might be why they keep still trying to bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing about it. Metroid is just in a weird case where it was big, then they didn't know what to do with it, then they came back and really pushed it hard, but Other M flopped so badly that everyone sort of abandoned the series. Other than Tanabe, who really wanted to keep going on. And so it didn't do anything for like 5-6 years, and then Federation Force came back and was obviously a bit of a flop. And then Samus Returns people liked, but it was a really late 3DS title, so it didn't sell as well as it probably could. That's why, like, if Prime 4 and a proper 2D Metroid could be the return for bringing Metroid back up into the A tier, this is why it's sort of borderline, because Nintendo still uses Samus in, like, a lot of their marketing. Like, if you
was in the Paper Mario trailer.
Yeah,
they used the Samus in the Paper Mario trailer as a stinger because it was a cool thing. It was important enough to put in as the stinger at the end of the trailer.
Yeah, and like there was that. If anyone remembers the new 3DS commercial that they did in Japan, the one where they all wear the sort of really hipstery outfits, and they got that Japanese singer to sort of star in it. The series they used for that were Mario, Animal Crossing, Zelda, Kirby, Donkey Kong, and Metroid. Like, Samus shows up in that advert alongside Bowser and Toon Link and stuff.
Yeah, Metroid is the one series that doesn't necessarily sell like a AAA game, but because of the prestige behind it and because of some of the connections, a lot of the original team that worked on it, it kind of gets pushed like one. There's also a weird parallel universe where an N64 Metroid game came out and things were different. Because I think that period of time kind of killed things off a little bit. Also, in that same universe, there was a Super Kid Icarus on the Super Nintendo. That's a good timeline.
This is a good timeline.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a lot of potential for Metroid to sort of come back. I mean, if Prime 4 comes back and is good, which I have no doubt it will be, then that's great. If Metroid 5 comes out as well, that's great. I feel like they should give Federation Force another try on the Switch, just to have a multiplayer, because I think a multiplayer team-based Metroid game could be a really good thing for Nintendo to have. Like,
yes,
both co-op and versus multiplayer, just to put a foot in that team shooter market that's really popular, and give the Switch something like that.
It's really sad that they wasted Federation Force on a game that everybody hated.
Yeah, it's such a bad sort of. It was a perfect spin-off for Metroid, and it just came out at a really awkward time, but it was also in development for like 8 years, and it started development before the Metroid series had disappeared for ages.
It also made Samus the final boss, but as a ball.
Yeah, I mean, it has some weird...
Of all the ways to make her a final boss, it chose to make her a giant ball.
Yeah,
there's some weird design
things in that game. I think it's an issue that they needed a developer to work on it, and Next Level Games had, like, basically no experience working on the Wii U. They didn't even release a Wii U game. So it was just easier to put it on 3DS. It probably didn't have much of a budget either. It was definitely a passion project from Tanabe. I just think it should have been on the Switch.
Yeah, can you imagine if let's say Metroid, the 2D Metroid comes out 1 year, and then Prime is coming out, but Prime 4 is coming out 2 years after that, and then between that we had a game like Federation Force had never come out, and then we have a squad-based, mission-based shooter set in the Metroid universe called Federation Force with up-to-date, not cartoony graphics, like on the Switch, that also had a great multiplayer modes online. Like, people would go crazy for that. The problem was, the timing, and I think the look threw some people off.
Oh yeah, I think it didn't look it looked very poor because they were trying to push a lot on the 3DS, and so they had to have it like, 4 people all playing simultaneously on 3DS in first person. I think they ended up that was the reasoning behind it being all chibi and cartoonish, to really lower the power, which is a shame, because if they had been on the Switch, they could have potentially even used the same engine that Prime 4 was going to be running on, and had it look like the other Prime games, because Prime Hunters managed to pull that off on DS in its multiplayer mode, having simultaneous play and stuff like that.
I think it could have,
yeah.
I think it could have kept the chibi portions, been on the 3DS and everything. It could have done decently if it was just announced during Samus Return and Prime 4.
Yeah,
we would have been actually excited for it, even if it was really different, because they knew Prime 4 and Samus Returns were, there too.
Yeah, I think that's also true. Like, I'm assuming the only reason it was done like this is Nintendo were clearly very worried about oversaturating Metroid again, and so didn't want to announce 2 Metroid games at the same time. But
you mean like 3 Metroid games?
Well, yeah, because Federation. I would imagine that Federation Force and Samus Returns would have been announced. Like, to do this, Samus Returns would have had to have been announced a year earlier, so that it was announced alongside Federation Force, and then Prime. I'm convinced the only reason Prime 4 was announced as early as it was to quell people who basically threw Federation Force under the rug for Nintendo to be like, no, look, we are actually working on a proper Metroid Prime mainline title, don't worry. Federation Force was just a spin-off.
But yeah, I do really wish that Federation Force and Samus Returns, like, everything about them, announcement and release, for a swap, so that Samus Returns could, 1, release earlier and not be on a dying system, so it could have done better, and 2, Federation Force would have been after Samus Returns, so it wouldn't have been received as bad, even if it would have sold,
Yeah. It would have still been a late 3DS title, so it probably wouldn't have sold as well as it could have, but it would have definitely done... People would have been more open to the idea, as long as they knew that there was a proper Metroid game also on its way.
Like, for example, I bought Samus Returns, first and only Metroid so far, really good, I realize more right now. And like, if it had come out in 2016, let's just say, and I got it, I might have been open to getting Federation Force at, in 2017, because I was, in the Metroid mood, because Samus Returns was, good.
Yeah.
So I think they could have just... I know, obviously, development time and all that, clearly, Federation Force was made earlier than Samus Returns development, but just saying, in that hypothetical where they were swapped, it could have been a lot better for both games.
Yeah, it's kind of like if Twilight Princess never came out, but they came out with crossbow training. You'd be like, hey,
that'd be legendary.
The hell are you doing, Nintendo? Yeah.
After the Wind Waker and then Minish Cap, and it's all been cartoony stuff, and then the next realistic looking Zelda is a third-person spin-off that comes packaged with the Wii Zapper. Like, completely new model of Link, completely new world.
Yeah, but we're using it just for this, guys.
Yeah.
Come on. Be happy with what Nintendo gives you. God.
You fight Star-Lord at the end of crossbow training, and you're like, why couldn't we have gotten a game with this kind of...
I mean, so people have obviously started talking about Metroid Prime Trilogy rumor, whatever. I mean, the leak with the actual listing is fake, but that game is definitely coming. I mean, it's a game that's basically ready and sitting on Nintendo shelves, and it's Nintendo. They're really cautious about the Metroid series because of the last decade of Metroid content. They're worried about Other M poisoning the franchise, and then Federation Force not doing so well. They want people... They're going to make Prime 4 regardless, but they want people to get hyped for it. And I think as part of that, they're re-releasing the Prime trilogy on Switch in HD, Twilight Princess HD style, where it's really just a sort of visual upgrade and not much else. But they're doing that for...
I'll try the exact same I'll be the exact same trilogy on Wii if it's on Switch.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
won't play it
I mean,
at
I
this
bought
point.
Metroid Prime Trilogy on Wii U because it was cheap when it came out, and then never played
I really should have done
it. Like, it came out on Wii U after I had just finished marathoning all 3 of them anyway. But
Yeah,
I
I have
bought
the
it none
box
the
collection.
same.
I have the box collection in the steel case, and I bought it on Wii U, and I haven't played it in either. I've only played the originals.
But
Oh,
yeah,
by the
Could go back and buy it on Wii U, but like I feel like at any moment the trilogy will be announced for Switch, so I don't want to.
By the way, so as of this last financial report from Nintendo, Three Houses has sold 2.87 million copies. Why is that significant? Because it finally passed the original F-Zero at 2.85. Telling you, man.
And see, Fire Emblem's A-tier franchise. It's above F-Zero.
Why doesn't Captain Falcon have? Why doesn't F-Zero have 8 characters then?
In Smash, because none of the games except for the first one have sold well.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, like the N64 and game, like nobody was interested in the like. You talked about oversaturation. They kept releasing games for the Game Boy Advance for F-Zero, and nobody cared.
I mean, the Game Boy Advance games on F-Zero are really strange. Like, Maximum Velocity exists for the same reason that F-Zero exists in the first place. Because they wanted to show, hey, look, the Game Boy Advance can play Super Nintendo level games. That's why like the Game Boy Advance also got A Link to the Past and the Mario Advance series, which was basically just Mario All-Star games repackaged for the Game Boy Advance, and Donkey Kong Country, like that. They were showing that, and then every other Game Boy Advance F-Zero game is an anime tie-in game. Like,
yeah, like Legend,
arcade one,
IMAX, and all
because,
that.
and F-Zero GP Legend is the most, in hindsight, the most random product ever, because like it's not like Kirby. Kirby got an anime series and Pokemon gets an anime series, but they're also owned by HAL and Game Freak, who can do what they want with the series outside of the games. But F-Zero is like an internal first party on the same level internally as Mario, Zelda, Metroid, etc. And it gets a 50-episode anime series, and Zelda gets nothing, and Metroid gets nothing, and Star Fox gets nothing. It's like, what's going on? Someone really liked F-Zero, clearly.
Well, they don't like it anymore if they're still working on Nintendo.
See, all Nintendo's got to do is release a Blu-ray of all of F-Zero GP Legend. And
series is saved.
Sell it at
People start
Universal
buying.
Studios, and
I think that's another game where the universe of F-Zero is interesting enough to do spin-off games.
Yeah, need a classic style beat 'em up brawler.
If you hate a non-Mario Kart racing games that much, then just give us a different kind of F-Zero game.
I want to do like a hardcore noir style, like gritty, like detective style story with Captain Falcon tracing down bounties.
Yeah, Nintendo, we don't want racing. We just want Captain Falcon.
Yeah. Man, I hope they do more. I'm hoping that the Universal Studios thing, with its obviously being Mario and Donkey Kong focused at the beginning, but rumors that it's getting a Zelda Land coming up, and then the Mario movie coming up. I'm really hoping that they do more series and movies and stuff, because I feel like that's the best way to hype up a lot of these IPs. F-Zero F-Zero the anime could be great as just re-releasing that and getting it on somewhere, but also a Metroid movie could be really good. A Zelda TV show could definitely work if you just get the right talent. The fact that there is no Fire Emblem anime is still surprising to me.
Well, because what do you make it?
There's an OVA.
It's gonna move on.
I mean, you just make it about heroes. Practically every Japanese gacha game ever gets an anime. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dragalia Lost got an anime before Fire Emblem at this rate. It's just ridiculous.
It's funny. I watched that not knowing what the hell it was. I watched that Fire Emblem OVA way back in the day.
Prince Mars.
Which is the only reason I knew who the character was in Melee. Because I didn't play the game. I'm like, that's that guy from that anime I rented from Blockbuster. That's weird.
Wow, that is amazing. You're the only You're the only person in America who knew who Marth was. That's actually really impressive.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was a video game character. I had to look it up to make sure. I'm like, he looks just like that guy. He's stupid tiara and everything that his sister gave him.
I actually really want to. I want to watch that
Where's
OVA, and I really want to watch the Animal Crossing movie as well. They're like the two Nintendo related medias that I don't think I've watched.
I kind of like the name Mars better because it's like, an actual name.
Yeah, it's also the god. It's also the god of war. So although Marth doesn't
which makes sense
fit
as
That's pretty cool.
But here's the thing: war isn't necessarily always about combat. There's also the strategic elements of war, which I feel like the first commander of Fire Emblem being named that makes sense, being named after a god of war, because that's what it's about. And I know if you want to get technical, Athena was the goddess of that part of war, and Mars / Ares was more the god of combat and actual warfare, whereas Athena was tactics. But I mean, just in general, war isn't just fighting in a field. War is about being a commander and a tactician and stuff like that. So in that way, it does make sense for Marth, I think.
That does remind. Yeah.
I'm shocked that it took Fire Emblem 11 games to have a character called Athena. Now that I think about it, just a random factoid.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, it was released. It had to be like the early '90s, like really early '90s. Mm-hmm. It was apparently '95. So, and it was just like back in the day. Because once again, I'm old. It's not like we had the internet to, at least not like how you guys have to like stream and download anime. So in order to find anime, you'd have to be like, well, what the hell do they have at my Blockbuster in the quote unquote animation section? And whatever they had, you're like, sweet, Bubblegum Crisis. Oh man, it's only the first 2 volumes. I'll never know what happens in Bubblegum Crisis. But you're like, nice, a volume of Ranma half from like the middle of the run. Okay, whatever. But they definitely hit my Blockbuster. Yeah, they definitely had the Fire Emblem OVA. I don't recall. I think he might have had pants in the OVA, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think they updated his design to include pants, but I can't recall for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the OVA design that feels the closest to what Smash went with.
That's where people get his last name from, because I don't think they actually call him Mars or Marth Lowell anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. Also, he did have pants. I found a picture of it. Fire Emblem: the forces of evil are in serious trouble. That's literally the tagline. Jesus.
Yeah, man. Here, I'm gonna throw this into. Let's throw this link into the chat if you guys want to see
what
this awesome '90s anime. There's an image link.
Okay.
That's what the tagline should have been. Marth gets pants.
Mars Lowell, Prince of Aratia.
Yeah, and people use that name Lowell all the time, and I think it's just from this anime.
Might be, yeah. I haven't actually, because I haven't played the.
It's definitely
I have played Shadow Dragon, but
yeah, I was about to say the only one I played it with.
He's given it in the anime only, so it's anime exclusive. Last name Lowell means little wolf. Cool. Thank you, Fire Emblem Wiki, for that fun factoid.
So basically, his name means werewolf, which is awesome.
Little werewolf.
I kind of like it too, because that would make him the young wolf to go with Roy's young lion.
Oh yeah, that's true. Badass. But yeah, Fire Emblem.
Better name.
Mm-hmm. What? Sorry, Hamada?
No, I was saying that Mars is the better name.
Yeah, Mars is a cool name, but yeah, I'm surprised Fire Emblem hasn't had an anime yet. I really want Kid Icarus to come back and get something like that as well, like a Kid Icarus
I would
anime.
love just like, first of all, I would love a full-on 2D, like preferably hand-drawn, but I'm being greedy now, like Kid Icarus, like Metroidvania style game, because it was heading in that direction. It was more action-oriented than Metroid, But the second game on the Game Boy of Gods and Monsters, I think it's called, was definitely like you could see it's starting to head more in that type of direction. And I think that's a problem with Kid Icarus as a franchise. By the way, I guess this episode is us just talking about Nintendo franchises.
Yeah, I know we haven't even done the first topic that we usually start off of what we've been playing.
We did play, yeah.
We just jumped into Xenoblade because I was talking about my holiday, and it's just gone from there. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, I think the problem with Kid Icarus as a franchise and why it kind of died is it was a pretty big NES game. Like it was important. Like it was one of the characters on freaking Captain N. Like in Melee, a lot of people don't realize this. Like a lot of like younger people are like, who the hell was Pit? Why was he in the opening for Brawl? Like why was he one of them that was showcased? Because he was like one of the most requested in Melee. Like because also when Melee came out, remember it's like people my age who grew up with the NES generation, so we're thinking like, oh, where's Pit from Kid Icarus? Like it was an important enough franchise. And I think the problem was that you had like Metroid and Kid Icarus had the same path, where they had an NES game that was okay. Like neither one of them's that great, to be honest with you. Like Metroid's not even the best Metroid style game on the Nintendo. And then Game Boy games that really expand upon that, but were still limited because it was on the Game Boy. And then Metroid got Super Metroid, which kind of perfected the formula. Kid Icarus got nothing. I really feel like if Kid Icarus had gotten a Super Nintendo game, like it would be up there with probably like Kirby. Like
I mean, I think it would be on the Metroid level if it had continued. Maybe just below. Yeah. It'd be on the same level as like Star Fox. I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. It would at least be a Star Fox. I'd say that. Yeah, around there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Kid Icarus was because I didn't grow up with an NES. I grew up with an SNES. And with Kid Icarus, it was like my first experience with him was the trophy in Melee. But like that was like enough for me to be making one of my most wanted characters for Brawl. Like I don't know what it was like looking up. I remember there's a really old Super Smash Brothers fan site pre-Smashboards where people could like submit their own ideas for characters and movesets and stuff, and it was just added to this ever-growing roster. And it also had a forum that I used to hang out with. I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called. I want to say it's something like Super Smash Brothers Universe or something. But I do not remember. But I had like... I used to love looking at that and looking at the characters. And that's where it was there in the movesets and stuff that I saw for Pit that made me super interested in the series. Also Sooty Hakon. That's how I first found out about that game. Which is like...
Yeah. Moveset, not disappoint.
Random one.
Not to get too off topic, even though this whole thing is... kind of off topic. So I don't know how, but just basically I don't want to just start talking about Smash. But like I have to say that the lack of trophies is one of the most disappointing things in Smash Ultimate, because it's so much fun to go and read the history, and with stickers all you get is like a JPEG or a PNG that could be found like
spirits, but
on the internet. Spirits, I mean, sorry. That you can find anywhere, and there's not like, at least if let's say the Resident Evil one came up, at least if they had little descriptions, if each one had like a paragraph of text with them. I know that's asking a lot, but at least that would be interesting to be like, oh, that's what this is from, or that's cool, or but like when you just have characters from whatever, from Trials of Mana with no context, people that aren't aware of the series don't really know.
Like just getting actual new trophies every few weeks, that actually be really exciting to see. It just feel like they're more formally a part of Smash. Like I consider Commander Video more formally in Smash than I would Trials of Mana.
Or Shantae. I feel like Commander Video had an actual, because he had an actual new thing created in Smash. Yeah.
Not to mention that somehow Rayman got 3 trophies but only 1 spirit. It's just weird all around.
That's a good spirit battle though. It's a rough one.
No,
okay. You want to...
Spirits have grown on me, but I agree they should have descriptions of some kind to just get like they should have some kind of descriptions to add a bit more oomph to them. I mean, of course, I like some of the JPEGs for the more obscure ones because there are some artwork that was presumably somewhat lost or never in that kind of high quality. Like, I'd never seen that picture of Goku and Chao in high quality before. girl from Hajime no Mori, I'd never seen that artwork before, and the main character from Project Hacker, I'd never seen his face before, let alone artwork for it. So having that is cool. There is cool, but it is very limited. Like the Mario ones, you can just find them anywhere. Those aren't special. But yeah.
And it's cool that we're getting some ones that come with bells. It's cool. Like once again, like Trials of Mana, which I'll talk about when we talk about what we played this week as our next segment. It's cool that you get spirit battles that kind of replicate how they are in the game. Like that's cool. I just wish there was a little bit more. Like I said, even if there was just a little, like 3 sentences of flavor text describing who these people are or something and what game they debuted in. Like that's all I'm asking. Give me the game they debuted in and the year, and then like 3 to 4 sentences. Like that's it. Like not a lot. And I'd be so much happier with spirits.
Yeah, same. Agreed.
I agree. I know, like, for example, nothing about Trials of Mana, so the references in the spirit battle do nothing for me. At least a summary, and at least get to understand something.
The best part is that Corrin is the is the straight block from Tetris.
Yeah. The Tetris ones are funny. The L and backwards L block being Luigi and Waluigi.
I can't believe that Tetris never used the Nintendog stage because it's blocks falling on you.
True, very true.
Yeah,
right, I guess let's move on unless you guys really want to just talk about more Nintendo franchises for a while.
I mean, I'm always up for that, but yeah, I guess we can turn over to what we've been doing. Well, actually, let's jump around this for a little bit because if we're talking about Nintendo franchises and one's getting a second chance and all that, Panel de Pon finally got released in the West, as people knew it as Tetris Attack, but it got released in its original Japanese style, Lip the Flower Fairy and all of the others, and it clearly got a lot of buzz on Twitter. Like, people have been a bit upset over the SNES Online stuff because it's rarely ever updated and it's still missing some key games. But I think them releasing old games that no one has played in eons that aren't really easy to get a hold of, like Donkey Kong Country, is a big appeal of this of what this was. I mean, the Wii Virtual Console brought games like Super Mario RPG to Europe for the first time, but it also brought Sin and Punishment to the West for the first time. The 3DS Virtual Console brought Murasame Castle to the West for the first time, and the Mario Picross games. And then the Wii U brought Earthbound to Europe for the first time. Like, it's so cool to sort of see that, and I know it's got less of an impact because you can just go and download the Japanese version of SNES Online to get access to all these if you want. But having it released in the Western one is officially really cool because it's an official release technically.
Yeah, at some even if you don't think that with that, it's always.
Sorry, Hamada, you're cutting in and out.
Fine, I am.
Yeah. I'll say this. Number one, Rygar is a good game, guys. Go play Rygar. I really, really like. Okay, so Rygar was one of Tecmo's biggest franchises on the NES. I feel like, and in the arcade, and they even had a new 3D game on PS2, and then it was ported to the Wii. I don't know if anybody remembers Rygar on the Wii, but it is a cool game, and I dig it. I've been fairly happy with the NES and Super NES Online. Like, obviously, a lot of people keep asking for the third-party games, but Konami does a Castlevania collection. Capcom does a Mega Man collection. Like, Square Enix will never release Chrono Trigger and not charge you for it. And the same with so those are not going to be on here, unfortunately. I understand some of the first parties, Donkey Kong Country in particular, yeah, they're probably saving those, whatever. But when it comes to third parties, you're not going to get that. Even Super Mario RPG is going to be a weird one because of the Square Enix involvement. Because once again, they like making money.
I mean, I think I could see Mario
the
RPG.
Mother games are another one.
The
Mother games should be on there.
Yeah, Earthbound should be on there, and so should Earthbound Beginnings. I mean, they got Star Fox 2 on there, so this. But I feel like anything that was on the NES Online and the SNES Online should probably be on the Switch Online, the Switch Online and
Classics?
the NES Online.
Yeah.
The classics. But
once again, I feel like some of them will be, but once again, like when it comes to Mario RPG and like Mega Man X, Super Castlevania, Final Fantasy III, Contra, like these games are either on other collections that are available on Switch, or I feel like the Final Fantasies are definitely going to be on some sort of collection at some point that Square's going to sell.
Yeah, probably.
Like,
I mean, they might just release them individually, like they did with Dragon Quest 1 through 3. So
yeah, I mean, like Secret of Mana was on there, and there's the Mana collection. So obviously,
yeah,
like that's a problem with some of them. But yeah, definitely the Mother games, the Donkey Kong Country games. There's still a couple big ones missing but I feel like those will eventually come.
Yeah, but I want to see them do more stuff like they did with Panel de Pon. One game I was thinking could be really fun to re-release for the West and the first time on SNES Online is Wrecking Crew 98.
That would be cool. It would actually be very cool to get just in general the Satellaview games. Like wouldn't Excite Bike for the SNES, which like it's not really been available legally anywhere.
Yeah, Mario Bun Excite Bike.
Yeah, that would be amazing, and
I don't know if they have a ROM that works without Satellaview. I mean, there is a ROM out there that people can play and download, and so that they can play the game. But I feel like it's a hacked one. I don't know off the top of my head. Luigi Blood probably would know if we asked him.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure Nintendo has the source code. As we found out recently, they have the source code for everything still.
Yeah, that's true. So they probably do somewhere. But like that would be a good one, because I think those ones like Mario Excite Bike and Mario Wrecking Crew 98, which isn't a Satellaview game, that's just a game they released in like 1998 for the Super Nintendo, are like very easy to bring over, like, because they're also just puzzle games basically, or at least Wrecking Crew 98 is just a puzzle game, so you don't need the story mechanics. That's why stuff like Famicom Tantai won't be released on the NES Online, because it would need a full translation to be worth anything, although hopefully the remake gets localized and we can get that over here, please.
I think it's interesting that Wild Guns was just released when Natsume actually released like the superior Wild Guns Reloaded on Switch, which is actually pretty good. It's just kind of like a definitive version.
I mean, that might be why they released it on there, because they just released Wild Guns Reloaded, and we're like, okay, cool, we can just drop the original on there now. Who cares?
It's almost like a demo, because it has like the new one has new graphics, new characters, 4-player, new modes, like all sorts of stuff. So maybe if people go out and play, which is a fun game, by the way, if you guys have nothing to do.
Yeah, Wild Guns is enjoyable.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Also, by the way, you know what I think is funny? So we had Panel de Pon brought over for the first time.
Yes.
And we also have Super Puyo Puyo 2 on the SNES Online.
Yeah. That was the first one that was like the Japan-only one that they just
which was never released as Puyo Puyo in the States before, like this particular version.
Was this the version that became Kirby's Avalanche?
I think so, but instead they just released Puyo Puyo 2.
Yeah. But that's really cool. It's because Puyo Puyo has just been a growing series, and this is the thing. Like Puyo Puyo has been just shot up in popularity since Puyo Puyo Tetris, especially on the Switch, having Puyo Puyo 2, Puyo Puyo Esports, and Puyo Puyo Tetris. I don't think they've done any others since then.
Yeah, because during the Super Nintendo era, I don't think we had any, because we had Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, obviously, on Genesis, and Kirby's Avalanche.
Yeah, and then everything else.
But we never
Tetris.
had. Yeah, I don't think it was until like there might have been a Puyo Puyo like on Neo Geo or something. So maybe like towards the end. Like,
I think there was some Puyo, like Puyo Pop. I think it was sort of localized as. Like, I think there was some on the Neo Geo. I think there was definitely one in arcade. Like the first arcade Puyo Puyo game got localized because it has a really infamously bad localization.
But I think it's funny that we have two like magical girl based puzzle games that were not released in the West before as part of the Western service for Nintendo Switch Online.
But I hope that the sort of buzz around Panel de Pon finally coming over to the West gives Nintendo sort of motivation to make a new game in that series, even if it's just like an eShop title or even like a free Nintendo Online Tetris 99 style thing. Because they like the series hasn't disappeared. The series actually got a lot of attention in the all the way up to the Nintendo DS, and then I think Puzzle League on the DS just didn't sell very well. But then it got added on the 3DS as part of Animal Crossing. Like Animal Crossing New Leaf Amiibo update added a complete paneled upon mode and a lip outfit that you could get for your villager. So
yeah, and Lip,
clearly
yeah,
don't
and
mind
I feel,
referencing him.
yeah, I feel like Lip has been kept alive a lot through Smash too, with the costume and the item and, and
lipstick.
everything else.
I mean,
yeah.
The ideal thing to do, Nintendo being on this loving to port and re-release all these old games, should re-release the old Nintendo Puzzle Collection game. Like, get Akira... Is it Akira, I think, the people who were doing Tetris 99? And they also do...
Murabito, or Villager, as I like to call him in the chat, said that Puyo 1 was the basis for Kirby's Avalanche, but this is Puyo Puyo 2. This one, I guess, had never come... at least as a Nintendo game.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyway, Arica, sorry, is the game I was thinking of. They've been the ones who made Tetris 99, but they were also the ones who did Dr. Mario Miracle Cure, Dr. Luigi, they did the 3D Classics games, etc. They've been like Nintendo's go-to puzzle people. They should just redo the Nintendo Puzzle Collection, which was Dr. Mario, Yoshi's Cookie, and Paneled Upon, all combined into one game with multiplayer and story modes for each one. So I think the actual version was literally Dr. Mario 64, the cancelled Paneled Upon 64, and then just a Yoshi's Cookie game that may have also been a cancelled Nintendo 64 game, repackaged and all sold together for the GameCube. But that would have been really cool. That'd be really cool one to re-release for the Switch, I feel like. And give, like, actually translated this time. Because Dr. Mario 64 did get translated and only released in America. It didn't get released in Europe, and it didn't even get released in Japan until this collection. So that is what I hope that this will do. And that is my that is the whole reason I put this segment in this podcast
today. Once again, because we are Source Gaming, so everything comes back to Smash. I kind of would not want Arl Nanja in Smash without Lip, because I think that would make for a very cool trailer.
We got a Lip Mii Fighter costume. They can reference it. They can reference that.
I guess so. I still feel like Lip and Takamaru are definitely the two next retro reps. Whenever
Lip Takamaru, maybe Excite Biker. I feel
maybe Donkey Kong Jr.
Donkey Kong Jr. and Sheriff could also be there, I think.
And Mach Rider, and then that's it.
I don't know.
It has to be one of those.
Mach Rider would be a really weird one. I feel like they'd do Excite Biker before they do Mach Rider.
I think so too. But I think Mach Rider has more to work with from a moveset.
I mean, I could see it being a situation where they just both combined under Excite Biker. Like how Duck Hunt is basically just all the light gun games combined into one moveset, and how Villager has the balloon fight as balloon move as one of its attacks. I think
maybe you could have a move that transforms your Excite Bike into the Mach Rider bike for a move.
Just give the Excite Biker machine guns on his bike, and there you go. You've got everything Mach Rider could ever do.
Mach Rider can also explode and then come back together. You forget.
True. I forgot.
Perfect recovery.
But no, I mean, Mike Jones needs to actually get his games released in Japan first. That is still the strangest thing to me. Like, Nintendo of America must be the ones being like, let's release these Japan-only games in the West first, and Nintendo Japan just doesn't care about releasing the ones that were only for America. Like, the only one that ever got a release was a Balloon Kid, which has the most bizarre release thing, because it was released as a Game Boy game only in the West, and then was ported to the Famicom as a Hello Kitty game in Japan, and then was ported to the Game Boy Color as an update back to Balloon Kid again, only in Japan.
like my. So I think we had on one of our old sourcecasts just a conversation for how we would like to reboot old Nintendo franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And still, like my absolute dream would be for Nintendo to relaunch Star Tropics as a parody of kind of self-serious narrative-driven games like Naughty Dog does. Like make it like this really, like make it like basically like Uncharted, but just like still everything is like so over the top and stupid because it's Star Tropics with bananas and yo-yos and monkeys and just all the weird like really silly stuff, but have the character of Mike Jones play it off as super serious. Like I think that would be the funniest game.
Have him act like Nathan Drake, like the same.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
of
Have him be like
explorer.
square-jawed action hero, but like everything that's happening is ridiculous. But he doesn't treat it as ridiculous. He treats it as like, no, this is serious stuff. We got to go in this submarine and like
ex-pro baseball player turned explorer, treasure hunter, fights off evil aliens in his grandpa's submarine.
Yeah, I think because that game's so weird. But I don't know. Like, I feel like it has potential. I don't know.
I think Star Trek. I mean, the old series, I'd want them to bring about, other than Murasami Castle, which is always going to be at the top of my list, is like Star Tropics and Mac Rider. I think are the two ones I want to see. If we can extend this out to Game Boy Advance, I'd like.
Primed. Murasami Castle is so primed for a relaunch. They release the game in the West. They had him in Samurai Warriors. They keep having him mentioned in Smash and Wii U minigame. Like it's so ready for something to happen.
Yeah, they just need someone to make it. I think that's what it is. They need someone to be willing to make a Murasami game.
Yeah, by the way, I guess sorry I cut you off. You were saying that Star Tropics is always on the top of your list besides Murasami Castle?
Yeah, Star Tropics, Mac Rider, Murasami Castle. And if we could continue to Game Boy Advance games, if that counts as retro now, I kind of want to see Tomato Adventure get released again. It's not going to happen because Alpha Dream are dead, but it's like one of the most interesting games for me is Tomato Adventure. I actually own it on cartridge, but it's obviously all in Japanese. I might look to see if there's a fan translation out there. Maybe I'll pick it up and play it that way. Oh, and Marvelous. Marvelous was primed for a remake on the DS, and it just didn't get it. And I still think that game should deserve an extra shot at life. It's not like the most amazing game, but it's like incredibly fascinating game. I think. And
yeah, like there's a lot of games where it's like I'd be down to see a new Jill Dozer and Drill Dozer. Like I don't need it though, but
yeah. I just want old series to come back, and if Detective Club can come out to the West and do well, maybe they will consider doing others like Shin Onigashima next, and then that can lead to Yuyuki when we can get Goku back, and there we go.
Yeah,
it all comes
Kamiya
full
did say
circle.
something. Kamiya did say something about Murasami Castle, but
yeah,
like Platinum has so many games on their plate right now.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think it was Kamiya and Inaba were both asked if they could work on a Nintendo property, which one, and Inaba wanted to work on Zelda, and Kamiya wanted to work on either Murasami Castle or Star Fox. So
I kind of feel like whenever they ask a studio what Nintendo franchises they'd want to work on, and they say Zelda, I always feel like it's a waste. I'm like, Zelda's fine, man. Like, do something else. You know,
we were talking about this again yesterday in the Discord about how Ubisoft have done a good track record of making like Mario and plus Rabbids plus all the Star Fox content in Starlink, and how they should work on more Nintendo properties. And I think if any studio is out there primed to make a Sheik-based Zelda game, it's Ubisoft.
Yeah, make it like very Assassin's Creed style.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia style, set in the Zelda universe.
That'd be cool.
Open
I'd buy
world.
it.
Yeah, I'd buy it.
Tecmo Koei, I think, has worked on more Nintendo IPs than any other third party. People always forget.
Yeah, I mean, they worked on Metroid Other M, and I guess the Warriors game, so Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors. And they worked on Pokemon Conquest, right? That was Tecmo Koei.
Yep. Yep, Tecmo Koei was Pokemon Conquest.
What
So
else?
yeah, so they've worked on
That's 4.
pretty much everything except for Mario, as far as the big Nintendo IP.
Have they worked on Kirby? I don't know.
They said they wanted to do Star Fox Warriors at one point, but Nintendo wasn't for it. I think that would be hilarious and amazing.
I mean, I imagine it'd be like Gundam Warriors. They're all flying around.
Yeah, it would be. I'm sure it would be great. The although as far as Warriors games, obviously Xenoblade and Kid Icarus. But anyways.
Oh yeah, Kid Icarus Warriors should probably be it. Or, actually, Xenoblade has enough characters now that they could do it. Enough core characters anyway. So that would be a good one. Oh yeah, and I guess
I think
Fatal Frame is... Oh yeah, Tecmo Koei worked on Fire Emblem Three Houses as well. And I guess technically they own Fatal Frame with Nintendo. Like, or I should say Nintendo owned Fatal Frame with them.
Yeah, they're ridiculously close to Nintendo. Like, a lot of people don't think about it, but Nintendo allows them to help out in all sorts of stuff.
But they don't have a character in Smash yet. So clearly Nintendo doesn't care.
Listen, eventually Ryu Hayabusa, we all know this. So I remember like going back to it, Studio MDHR, the Cuphead people, said they wanted to do a Zelda game. And this was in response to Crypt of the Necrodancer, Hyrule Warriors.
Sorry, what game did they want to make? Sorry, did you say? Studio MDHR. I mean, you're thinking of Cadence of Hyrule.
Cadence of Hyrule. I couldn't remember. I beat that game twice. I couldn't remember the name. Okay. When Cadence of Hyrule was announced, Studio MDHR, who made Cuphead, said, "Man, we would love to do like this sprawling Zelda title with all 2D animation and giant bosses and blah blah blah." And yeah, that would be cool. And if that's what they want to do, I'm not saying that's not what they should want to do. You want to do what you want to do. But like, Zelda's fine, man. I'd rather see like a new Kid Icarus game done by Studio MDHR.
I want to see a new Kid Icarus game done by Yacht Club Games.
Yeah, that would also be great. I think when it comes to not Metroid because it's kind of the standard bearer for the genre, but when it comes to or Mario because it's such a big franchise, and also let me throw Zelda in with that too for mainline stuff. But there's a lot of games where new 2D entries would be handled just fine by indie studios. I'd love if Nintendo would allow somebody to do like a new Kid Icarus. That would be great.
I think Nintendo just want to see companies reinvent it if they're gonna like put their own spin on it. Like they didn't want the Mario plus Rabbids game to be a platformer for that very reason, which is but then with Star Fox it was not really like a full Star Fox game. I mean, they clearly just made a game like Star Fox and then got Nintendo's willingness to put the Star Fox characters in it in order to try and salvage it.
Nintendo's been more willing to do that though, because if you remember with Shovel Knight, Nintendo wouldn't allow them any crossover content because the Xbox version got Battletoads.
Yeah.
And the PS3/PS4 version, I guess, got the Kratos boss fight. And I think they said that they wanted to do crossover content, but they couldn't. Now it seems like Nintendo's like, yeah, sure, use our IP.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that they didn't let Yacht Club Games do it, considering Nintendo published Shovel Knight in Japan.
And they even got Amiibo, and they got Amiibo as a bunch of exclusive stuff, but I don't know where the boss fight was.
Yeah, like it is really bizarre that they didn't. But that's also why I feel like Yacht Club Games could be primed to make a Nintendo IP if they want to next, because they've already got a good relationship with Nintendo. Nintendo published their games. They helped make Amiibo. Shovel Knight's obviously a big one in Smash. There's a ton. There's a ton there, and I would hope that they would make a Kid Icarus game. I don't know why I've got it in my head Kid Icarus specifically. Like, I don't know if they've said anything at any point. I feel like so many people... I know Retro Studios wanted to make a Kid Icarus game, and Nintendo shot it down because their pitch was basically that they wanted to make a Kid Icarus game, and that wasn't how Nintendo did things back then. But yeah. We have.
Yeah, I think that looking at it, they wanted Samus, which isn't even like a top tier. Like, I mean, we were talking about it before. It's not like you're asking for Link.
Yeah. But hey, Bandai Namco can ask for Link and get him in Soul Calibur 2 back on the GameCube. Randomly.
Yeah.
As a cameo.
Yeah, and I think they also brought up Link and Tingle.
I mean, Tingle boss fight would have been
great.
amazing.
Yeah. Once again, we're not living in the best timeline, so unfortunately that never happened.
Cry.
Fast Racing Neo, generic martini. Is that the same as Epic Martini? Is that Martin, or is that just somebody that has a name?
I thought that.
I've been wondering that. Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, yeah, Fast Racing Neo.
Yeah. So Fast Racing Neo, my issue with that is it's a really good arcadey game, but an actual and the mechanics would be great for F-Zero, but I feel like an actual F-Zero game has to have a lot more meat on it. So it has the characters and the narrative and more modes. And there's something about the way the game looks. It looks really good, but it also looks like what it is, which is a budget title, like the way the cars explode and respawn and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think the best thing to do for F-Zero, to be honest, Nintendo being like, we need something new, we need a new mechanic, make it a battle royale game, because the big thing about F-Zero was that it's like 30 people all racing at the same time. And you're trying to destroy each other as you drive around the track. That's
oh my god! You know what? I'm really surprised.
For battle royale, racing.
That actually sounds really good.
Switching gears from Nintendo, pun fully intended. If you want to do a racing based or a vehicle based battle royale, I am so surprised that Sony hasn't done something with Twisted Metal, because that's basically what Twisted Metal was before. The only problem is that only like one or two of the people were playable, but it was always giant cities, vehicular combat, the last one standing wins. It literally always was a battle royale. So why not bring Twisted Metal back as a giant battle royale game? I would love that. I'm not even into battle royales, but I would buy that. I would subscribe to PlayStation Online service if I needed to for that. Like, first of all, I love the old Twisted Metals, particularly Twisted Metal 2. But it just fits. It's one of those things that not everything makes sense for a battle royale. Twisted Metal does. And I kind of agree that you could do something similar with F-Zero, but they've never had combat, so it would be different.
Yeah. I've been massively into the Twisted Metal series, so it's hard for me to judge it personally, but although I have played Cell Damage, which I guess is maybe the same sort of thing. Vehicular-based combat. But
like when you played it back in the day too, it's going to give you a different impression, obviously. Like Resident Games is always like that.
Also, they wouldn't revive F-Zero and make it a 16-bit racer. That'd be if Zero evolved far beyond that with F-Zero X and F-Zero GX. I mean,
didn't Nintendo say they wouldn't bring back F-Zero because they weren't sure how to make it all groundbreaking and innovative? They'd never make it.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing, and I always sort of defend Nintendo on this point, because Nintendo themselves have tons of IP. Like, I think the only people who have more IP than them are Sega and maybe Capcom, and they've themselves internally. Their internal studios are dedicated to making new experiences, so they can only really put resources towards IPs that they think either can bring something completely new, or they know will sell like 1 billion copies, like the next Mario or Animal Crossing or Zelda, like the ones that they kind of have to do. The only reason What, sorry?
Sorry, just the chat.
No.
Just responding to them.
Oh, okay. The only ones that can, so like the Star Fox and Pikmin are these two weird exceptions because they're made by Miyamoto and he just kind of does what he wants and forces people to make the games he wants whenever he feels like it. But like, I don't know who the original director for F-Zero was, but he's clearly not interested in making F-Zero games anymore. And Nintendo haven't made an internal F-Zero game since F-Zero X. Like, the Game Boy one was made, I want to say it was made by Q Games, Maximum Velocity. I'm going to quickly Google this as I talk. But then GX was obviously made by Sega. and then GP Legends might have also been made by people who made Maximum Velocity as well. Endcube, sorry. Endcube made Maximum Velocity. And now make Clubhouse Games. So it's Nintendo haven't made an F-Zero game themselves since F-Zero X. And that's why they're not interested in making it, because they can't think of anything they can do to make it exciting. Where they could be they could be putting their efforts towards something like ARMS instead, which is new and different.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo, like I said, it's getting better, but during the GameCube era, they were like, okay, here, Sega, make F-Zero GX. Here, Namco, make Star Fox. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't turn out that well. The games didn't meet the same level of quality and sales that Nintendo was expecting, although I do think F-Zero GX is great.
Yeah, same.
And I think that's why they kind of became gun-shy about letting third parties take ownership of their IP, because if you have one or two bad games in a series, it can tarnish this. Look at Metroid Other M. It can tarnish the series.
Yeah, and remember, these are only the games we know about. Who knows how many other games back then that they were pitching and working for, and ideas that didn't get through. Remember that they were working really closely with Factor 5 on stuff, including letting them come out with make a new Pilot Wings game and letting them make a new Kid Icarus game, neither of which ended up seeing release. And the Pilot Wings one was especially bad because that one was actually officially announced as something coming to the Wii, and then just didn't meet expectations and got cancelled.
Which is weird, because then we got the Pilot Wings for 3DS, which was just not boring, but pretty much as straightforward of Pilot Wings as you could get. I mean, they did it because it was, once again, Hamato was talking about they want to make things interesting and new. It was a good tech demo for the 3D.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason the SNES, that's the reason Pilot Wings 1 and 64 even exists, because they're good. Like, Pilot Wings and F-Zero only exists because they're really good tech demos for the Super Effects chip or whatever it was called. No, that's not Super Effects, the one that Star Fox used. What's the one that Super Nintendo uses? Mode 7, that's it. Like, both of those games are really good ways to show off Mode 7, and then Pilot Wings 64 was a really good way to show off the 3D by giving you a 3D space to fly around in. Didn't really need that for anything else. The only reason Factor 5 were working on a Pilot Wings game is because they had proved that they had basically locked down how to make flying games with the Star Wars Rogue Squadron series. And for whatever reason, they chose to make Pilot Wings and not Star Fox. So
it's kind of the reason Kid Icarus Uprising exists too.
Yeah, Kid Icarus Uprising exists because it was originally just envisioned as a flying game, and then Sakurai decided he wanted to have it be Kid Icarus themed instead of Star Fox themed. But yeah, it's Nintendo wants to put all that focus on making new stuff or original stuff. The team who worked on F-Zero obviously all scattered about now, but it was originally the same team as the Mario Kart team, who have now gone on obviously to make ARMS and stuff, even though I imagine no one from the original F-Zero team is probably still on the ARMS team, but that's besides the point. Nintendo want to make new stuff, but they should make a Battle Royale F-Zero game. That's a big enough difference, you'd think. Maybe it's just because their online's not good enough. I feel like having 30 people all racing online is a big enough gimmick to make F-Zero work. And it's just
I think as much as people kind of get on Microsoft for it and they need to do more, I think it's smart that they have Rare do what Rare wants to do now, which is Sea of Thieves or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they use the old IP and they're like, well, if somebody wants to make a Killer Instinct game, we own it. It doesn't have to be Rare. And so we got a really great Killer Instinct.
Yeah. I think, unless Nintendo have changed their policies, I think if people out there want to make a game in a certain genre, it's not certain genre, a certain Nintendo IP and pitch it to Nintendo, what they should be doing is coming up with a gameplay idea first, something that's unique, pitching that to Nintendo, and then offering to make it into or requesting to make it into based on this IP instead of a brand new IP. because you think that IP
Yeah.
would do well, rather than going up to Nintendo and being like, we want to make a new Kid Icarus game, here's our idea. It should be, we want to make this sort of Metroidvania style game, here's our idea. By the way, it'd be really cool if it could be Kid Icarus themed.
I think that's sort of what happened with Mercury Steam with Samus Returns. Because I think at first they just pitched a Metroid game and it kind of got shot down.
Yeah.
And then they came back with ideas for new mechanics, which I'm assuming are the visor and the and the counter and stuff like that, and said, well, maybe we can redo Fusion or a new game. And Nintendo's all like, we like the way it plays. Go make a remake of Metroid 2.
Yeah. And like the way Mario and Rabbids came to be is they went to Nintendo originally pitching it as a Mario platformer, and Nintendo shot that down. But they were super impressed with how they had made the Mario world itself come to life, and that was the only reason they got a second chance. But they were literally told, look, clearly you guys have the ability to bring Mario to life, but we don't want you to, like, the platforming idea is a no-go. If you can come up with a good idea, then maybe we can attach Mario to it, but you guys got to come up with that idea first. And they did. And
and I mean, Sakurai's a special case because he's Sakurai, even though he's not really with Nintendo.
Well, I
but
mean,
that
even
sort
then,
of happened with that's how he works too. Anyways, he comes up with content. He comes up with Dragon King, and then he says, "Well, let's make it Smash Brothers." Like, because Kid Icarus Uprising was just him coming up with a game idea, and I think Iwata was actually the one that says, "Hey, do you want to make this a Nintendo IP?" And he's all like, "Star Fox or Kid Icarus?"
Like, I know he was like, it was definitely like he came up with the flying idea first, and then he thought about Star Fox, but he wanted it to have third-person action land combat as well. And so he was like, that wouldn't make sense for Star Fox, but it would make sense for Kid Icarus because he can fly and then not fly with ease.
Yes.
And so Kid Icarus it was. And it helped that he also redesigned Pit for the modern age. So...
Yeah. But no, I guess my point was that because a lot of these... Yeah, there's probably not sequels to things because a lot of the talent has left. But, you know, Microsoft at least was all like, let's still make a Killer Instinct. It doesn't matter if the people aren't there. We have the IP. It can be good, which is something I wish more companies would do.
Yeah, it's just finding the right studio to make it. And
Yeah,
finding
right
a studio that wants to make it. I mean, I know there was a rumor a long time ago about the Nintendo approaching Criterion and asking them to make an F-Zero game, and I don't necessarily know if that was actually true or not. But from that rumor, the reason it didn't get off the ground is because Criterion just didn't want to make an F-Zero game. They wanted to work on their own thing. Not everyone wants to work on someone else's IP. And I totally understand that. And but like, if people don't want to make the games in that series, people won't do it. Gex is a great example of this because Square Enix have gone on record to say if people want a new Gex game, the studio just has to come and pitch it to us, and clearly no one has because we haven't got one. And it's sad.
Well, if you're doing Gex, you want to make sure to have make sure to have a really good pitch, so I can understand.
It's very intimidating. I do get that.
Yeah. Not everybody has Gex appeal, so you can't. Because I know a new Chrono game is something people want, but that those teams have been like spread to the four corners of the earth.
A lot of the Chrono Trigger people went off to go make Alpha Dream or work in Intelligent System and worked on Paper Mario.
Or Monolith Soft.
And work on Xenoblade, so...
Yeah, like, I think the core team of Chrono Cross is Monolith, or the people that left that for Monolith. Pretty positive about that. Yeah, the only people that I think that are at Square Enix that were heavily involved in that project are working on the online Final Fantasy games now. So,
well, working on 14, which is still like probably the most successful Final Fantasy thing in recent years, other than maybe the 7 remake that's done very well.
Yeah, the 7 remake's done gangbusters. You want to do what we're playing? Maybe it'll be the end of this.
Sure. Now we can actually go to our to our things. Although, because I put them on the thumbnail. This is a shout out to Red. Come to my island, you sly fox man. You've been twice. and one time you didn't have anything, anything that was
But-
real.
By the way, I think it's
Piece
a
of
little
crap.
weird, and you're allowed to like or dislike anything from games and want different things. And I know there's some issues with New Horizon. I didn't like how it handled additional people. I think there's still some core functionalities from the game that's missing. I think that crafting is a little cumbersome. It'd be nice to just be like, please craft 99 of these and use the stuff that's already in my storage, and please stack consumables, things like that. Like
Mhm.
there's definitely a lot of problems with villager dialogue. It's the worst it's ever been in any of the games.
Yeah.
That being said, like I see people on Twitter that are all like, yeah, I'm really losing interest in this game. Nintendo's dropped the ball. They really need to do some quality of life updates, and they really need to do some more instead of just events, like really just add new stuff because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but the game came out how long ago and you've put 300 hours in? Like you got your money's worth anyways. Of course you're going to get tired of it. You've been playing that game every freaking day. What?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same. I mean, I've started to get really tired of it, but personally.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
play for like 10 minutes a day, maybe just to check what's in the store and dig fossils. And I'll
Yeah.
try to get the fish. I'll try to get the fish and bugs before the end of the month.
Yeah, that's
But
something I need
that's
to do.
what
Try and get the fish and bugs.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I feel like. That's what Animal Crossing is. I feel like you put a lot of time in at the beginning, and then you just play it for like 10 to 15 minutes a day, a couple days a week to try to finish up the stuff you didn't get throughout the year. That's how the game is. It's not meant to be a game that you're playing for 6 hours a day, every day, forever.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe it's just me though. I mean, like people have different things that they want, but
Yeah. No, well, they're definitely going to add stuff because we know it's coming. I mean, things are just paced. Nintendo have paced stuff, and we'll see.
which, yeah, some people are like, they should just give everything for everybody right away for the people that want it. And I get that, but Nintendo wants you also to have a certain experience. I personally like the slow burn better because I wouldn't have cared about Red. Because normally with art at the beginning of the game, I don't have the money for it because I'm doing other things. But now that they introduce it here, now it's interesting because it's new. Like, and when they
Yeah.
introduce scuba diving, it'll be interesting and new. I hope we go back to Tortimer's Island actually, because I'd love to see Tortimer.
Tortimer's dead, man. You just got to accept it. He's
No,
gone.
He's
even
gone.
if Tortimer's dead, then where's Cap'n? Where's Cap'n? Where's the rest of Tortimer's family
That's
from
true.
the island?
Also dead.
Captain's family.
There's the turtle flu went around.
Oh man. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. What we've been playing. Let's end it on that this time instead of starting on that. What have I been playing? There's something I've been playing that I can't talk about until tomorrow, so I will not. La Mulana 2 probably is the main thing. Like La Mulana 2 is my review of it's not done yet because I actually haven't finished it. It might be a bit long, but there's so much in that game to talk about. And I played the original like a decade ago almost, whenever it came out. And the second one was a game I was really looking forward to, and it has like destroyed Metroidvanias for me, I feel like, because that game was so intense and so much what I would think of a Metroidvania that if I went back and played something like Super Metroid now, it would be so easy and such a breeze that I like I question if I would be having as much fun as I used to be before I would play La Mulana 2.
Have you played Hollow Knight?
Yes, I have played Hollow Knight.
How would you compare the games?
Hollow Knight definitely is easier than La Mulana 2. Hollow Knight feels more like a Super Metroid game than La Mulana does. So the thing is, with level design, a lot of Metroidvania games give off like the fake sense of it being an open world. So in Hollow Knight and Super Metroid, at least Hollow Knight at the beginning, and then Super Metroid for most of it, and Castlevania for most of it, you're like, you can go multiple directions, but you'll very quickly run into dead ends that you can't figure out what to do about, or you just don't have the right item, and then you go down, and there's only one real path you can head towards. And Hollow Knight is pretty much like that up until you get to the Rainy City, and then it gives you kind of like 3 areas you can go off and do in any order. But like La Mulana, that doesn't do that. Like La Mulana has like 5 dead ends, and you have no idea why they're all dead ends. And then you realize that there's this one off thing somewhere in this past area you haven't done that opens something else, or a hidden wall. Like there was the part that was very infamous for me and my mate who watched me play it was that we were stuck for ages, and we were just exploring the whole map for like 2 hours, reading all the tablets, taking notes, trying to figure out what the next thing to do was. And it turned out that in one of the rooms there was a vase up in the top corner that I had commented on before, because I was like, that's weird, how do I get there? That I managed to figure out how to hit, and it opened a chest that got me like a dinosaur figure. And then only because I'd gotten this dinosaur figure, I remembered that I'd read something somewhere else in the game that these enemies will open up their base to anyone holding the dinosaur figure. So I go to the enemy's base, and they're open, and I can go in and get something else from them, and then that suddenly they like unlock the boss for that area for me, and I'm like, oh, thank God, finally. And it's that sort of.
So yeah, it's way more exploration based.
Way more
very open world
base. Yeah, it's everything you find in that game. Like, so here's another good example. Me and my friend entered a section called the Dark Star Lord's Mausoleum, and everything was really powerful there, but we didn't know where else to go, so we kind of dodged enemies and made it through and did all this, and we explored pretty much the entire place as best we could. And then we went to this other place, which is all Egyptian themed, and we're being told, oh, if you do this puzzle, then you'll unlock the entrance to the Dark Star Lord's Mausoleum. So we were like, okay, we've already been there, but maybe this will unlock a different section of it. So we went around and did all this big puzzle stuff and all this, figured out the puzzle. The puzzle was something like, you have to put a really... If you put a weight on this pedestal, you will die, but you have to put something on it. And the answer was that you could buy pepper and just pour pepper on the weights pedestal instead, so that it wasn't heavy enough to be to make it go all the way down. It was very fucking convoluted, but we figured it out. But we did all this, opened the door, went through the door, and it just took us to an area we'd already been to in the Dark Star Lord's Mausoleum that we'd gotten to by going a completely other way around.
It's definitely a game I've always meant to try out.
It's definitely worth it. It's hard as balls, but I had
the boss fights.
The boss fights are very. I feel like a lot of the boss fights are difficult because of the way the game's engine works. Like, it's like, imagine classic Castlevania jumping mechanics.
Yeah.
It's like that.
So you can't change momentum in the air?
Basically, no. You can't. You can barely change momentum in the air, and if you walk off a ledge and don't jump, don't jump off a ledge, just accidentally walk off it, you will fall straight down, and you don't get to change left or right or anything. You're just forced to drop in a straight line down.
I think it's actually a little difficult for Konami or Nintendo to really do 2D Metroids and Castlevanias right now, because we're kind of in a golden age for that genre, because so many indie games are just that.
Yeah. Metroidvania is a really popular indie genre. It's understandable why. There's a lot,
and you have some great ones. Yeah, like I said, Hollow Knight. Ori is another one that's fantastic. Did you get around to Ori before?
No, I still need to play Ori. Ori and Momodora? Is that?
Momodora is good.
Yeah,
it is.
Momodora.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that one. There's references to that in La Mulana. La Mulana 2 actually has a bunch of indie character references.
That's funny.
It's got the witch from Momodora. It's got the guy who gives you maps from Hollow Knight. He shows up in it.
Nice.
It's got the burger guy from Undertale. Burger Pants. Downwell is in it as well. Just Downwell himself. Oh yeah, he's your Discord picture. Yeah, he's in La Mulana 2 as a shopkeeper with Flowey. There's someone from Owlboy.
No, I'm interested.
Owlboy is one of those games that I feel like one day I'll try out, because everything I've heard about it is it's a beautiful game that plays okay.
I think it plays fine. I enjoyed it. I actually have it physical on the Switch because I got it for really cheap. My only issue with Owlboy is I beat it in one sitting. Like,
I'm gonna say this.
Length doesn't matter for games, but Owlboy is like a 3-hour game.
I'll say this about Ori. I think, obviously, I'm sure everyone's already told you to play it that's played it. It's one of my favorite all-time Metroidvania experiences. The combat's kind of whatever, and the bosses are kind of whatever. The actual exploration, the presentation, number one, the presentation's amazing. The way it looks and sounds. The exploration's great. The story's nice, and it's got a lot of platforming. Where like some Metroidvanias don't care about the platforming, and some of them make it like it's an actual platformer for sections. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's definitely one of those. So if you like platforming, it's good. Yeah, like there's so many good, like even something like Dead Cells that's like a roguelike that's also kind of a Metroidvania. That's cool. There's so many different takes on the genre right now, like I said. Yeah, Dead Cells is also really good. I like roguelikes or roguelites. I don't like it when it's like too punishing for you to die. Like you lose everything and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I like when they have the roguelike elements in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so La Mulana. I will check that out.
Yeah, La Mulana. You can buy La Mulana 1 and 2 as like together in a collection on the Switch, which I have, but I didn't bother replaying La Mulana 1. I only wanted to play La Mulana 2. I might play La Mulana 1. La Mulana 2 is definitely like they're both basically very similar, but La Mulana 2 has a bunch of quality of life features in it. And it's also got a pretty good sense of humor about it as well. But it is a game with really deep lore. And like these hints are told in a way that would make sense within the context of the game. So it will talk about how the fifth children who existed made this and all this. Or it'll talk about it references loads of real life mythology. So there's an section in La Mulana 2 that talks about how Typhon and Echidna had 11 children, and then these 11 children like were hidden away. But in the game, you discover Typhon is like a supercomputer that the third children made, and Echidna is someone from the third children who was transformed and made into a chimera, and it's stuff like this. And it references Greek mythology. It treats all the Egyptian gods are in it, and they're all like the fifth race of children, I think. So you get Ra and Isis and stuff like that all show up in the game. It's like really good at taking loads of references to mythology, like loads of mythologies, and combining them together into making like a coherent storyline about the origins of the world and stuff like that. I think I just find that also super fascinating as well. It's definitely one I mean, like I said, my review is still on its way because I've just written so much about it. But it's a game that is 100% worth playing, and everyone should play it. It's my early review, my spoilers for my review.
Nice. So, Hamada, how about you?
About games I've been playing recently?
Yeah, last week or two.
Oh, well, off the top of my head, I just played Luigi's Mansion 3 for the first time. Really good game. My first Luigi's Mansion. Definitely good introduction, even if I'm late to the party.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Nice.
I also have Witcher 3 bought, so which I'm gonna be playing more of soon because I like the Netflix show and it was on sale.
I play Witcher 3 like an hour and a half at a time every couple weeks. I'm gonna beat it before 2030. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. I'm so intimidated with it.
It's huge.
Like
it's
once
a huge game.
I'm sure once I get fully into it, I'm sure. But I also finally played Undertale for the first time. Definitely enjoyed it, and Deltarune. And of course, I'm playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX for the Nintendo Switch.
I still need to pick that game up.
Yes, you do. And one of those games, some people might have, people probably haven't noticed, but I do like to make Source Gaming content, new games I play. So maybe one of those has some content coming out soon. Guess which one? Spoiler, it's not Pokemon Mystery Dungeon again.
I would have thought Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is a good introduction to the franchise. I didn't really like 2.
That was me.
And 1's really short. 1's a super short game.
1 is a very short game. Yeah.
I got to buy. I have like 2 right here, and like I've been wanting to get into, but I just can't. I hate the missions, but and I also don't really like the combat of Luigi's Mansion. But 3 it's so charming and just fun to explore that it definitely sold me on the series.
Yeah, I think you can skip 2. I think 1, if you can start at 3 and never play 1, but 1 is definitely what I like to call a weekend game. You have a couple. You have some free time on a weekend. You can definitely go through and beat Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, if I just find a way to play it or something. Yeah, I'm definitely like have that game on.
Yeah, either play the 3DS one or the GameCube one. I mean, the GameCube one's better for the original, but either of them, I think, either versions are good, worth playing because they are so quick.
I think budget releases of GameCube games would be like such a smart idea on Switch. Like I'd pay $20 for Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I would pay for Luigi's Mansion in a heartbeat. For Melee, obviously, if they just up the textures on Melee, everyone knows this, and added online, people would play it like 100%. Or even Animal Crossing, the first Animal Crossing, like it'd be kind of cool to have that on there. It's just kind of contrast to go back to every now and then from the new one,
Yeah. I mean, I was saying this yesterday as well in the Discord, that Nintendo
and also Wii games because we need Punch Out. Sorry.
People complain about Capcom always sort of re-releasing their games like every single generation, but to be honest, Nintendo should probably do the same thing. Because I feel like you don't necessarily have to buy them, but having games like the Prime games or the 3D Zeldas or Marios or Punch-Out and stuff like that easily accessible at a budget price every year just brings new people in. It like fills out the content. It fills out the library of games. People who really enjoyed it and will want to play it again may just re-buy it instead of digging out their old copy just for convenience. And it brings in new people to the series. Like the whole reason of Metroid Prime Trilogy and potentially re-releasing that is to get a whole host of new fans into the Metroid series before Prime 4 comes out. So that they will want to buy Prime 4.
Returns help do with me. Like, even if they don't release a Prime Trilogy, Samus Returns has me hooked that any new Metroid game I'm excited to try.
And the thing about the Wii,
play Super Metroid on the.
Play Super Metroid. It's free. Just do it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's true. It's free. It's worth playing.
Add that to the list of games I could be.
I mean, you can beat Super Metroid in like 4 hours.
Yeah, Super Metroid is one of the only games that I've beaten probably 10 times in my life.
Yeah, I've beat my record for Super Metroid is like 50 minutes or something. 52 minutes is my record for Super Metroid.
Yeah, once you know that game, it's but the first time it's good. And it still has great atmosphere for a game that came out when it came out.
It does. Yeah, it has very good atmosphere.
Like I've played a bit, and I will definitely play some more. I mean, it's got so much history and praise. I mean, definitely deserves it. It's free.
Yeah, like for people out there that like Zelda and like Metroid, and if you haven't played Super Metroid or Link to the Past, they're free, guys. Play them.
Well, I mean, the problem with Link to the Past is I've played Link Between Worlds, so I'm not sure if they'd be too similar.
They're not. I mean, they are in that it's the same overworld, but it's like two completely different games taking place in the same overworld. So no, they're different.
Yeah. It's worth playing Link to the Past as well.
Yeah, I think Link to the Past is a tighter experience than Link Between Worlds, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I feel like most of the games they put on NES and especially SNES Online should be games that everyone is playing. The only reason I'm like. The only reason me and others feel like SNES Online is lacking is because we already bought SNES Minis and have played all the games they've put on there like a billion times already. But if you've never played them, they're all super great games to be playing. Yeah,
they're like maybe we should make a list of what we think from. That'd be a fun video. Like our top 10 games that if you've never played them on SNES and NES
what
online.
Are you doing? Play them now.
Yeah. Number 1, Super Mario Brothers 3.
Super Mario Brothers 1. You've never played it? Sure, definitely.
Just play it. I'll be honest, Super Mario Brothers 1 a little rough compared to later entries. I like it, but
I actually need to play Crystallis on the NES Online. I think
it's a good game. Like, there's definitely some gems there. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was trying to sell them on Blaster Master Zero, which is a great game, and I said, "Play Blaster Master on NES Online." And they're like, "No, I don't do that. I don't play NES Online. It's a waste of blah blah blah." I'm like, "Do you have Switch Online?" They're like, "Yeah, I just don't want to download the app." I'm like, "Then you're hopeless, man. It's why."
Play
complaining about it. You're
River
complaining
City
about
Ransom.
something.
I don't like
Yeah.
having a big red square looking
Yeah.
too, but I thought I still downloaded it.
Yeah, I don't like
Because it's
free
free.
stuff. I'd rather just buy it. God.
Yeah, like no, I'm so upset. Like, but then yeah, I don't know. Blaster Master is actually worth your time. And what I like about Blaster Master is Blaster Master Zero is like the same game in a lot of ways, just with a lot of updates and quality of life improvements and better graphics and stuff.
Mhm.
So if you play Blaster Master on the Switch Online, NES Online, for a couple hours and you like it, but you're like, it's like it feels dated. That means you should go buy Blaster Master Zero and play that.
That's a
Breath of
Yeah.
Fire's on. You see, this is the thing.
more games should be like that.
Breath
Sorry.
of Fire is on NES is on the Super Nintendo Online, right?
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, it's a Capcom game, isn't it?
It's a Capcom JRPG. Yep.
Yeah. Did people from this series go on to do make Camelot? I'm trying to remember because they definitely made an RPG before Golden Sun, a classic one.
No, Camelot, if I remember correctly, were Sega devs. They did Shining Force.
Shining Force, that's what I was thinking of. All right,
Shining Force is basically, Shining Force is great if you haven't played it because it's very similar to Fire Emblem, but the combat's a little bit more traditional. I'll say that, and but no, it's very much like Fire Emblem, but with the Golden Sun aesthetic. So if you like that, you'll like, think about it that way. But Shining Force is good. Yeah, they were definitely the Shining Force devs.
Okay. I thought for some reason,
Which is why there hasn't been any more Shining Force.
Yeah, Shining Force, Shining Force Guide, and because I was gonna say if you're waiting for a new Golden Sun game, go play Breath of Fire. But they're not.
If you're
made
waiting
by the
for
same
another
devs.
Fire
You should
Emblem,
do that anyway.
Play Shining Force on the Sega Genesis
Mini.
Classic Collection or whatever it's called on Switch, which periodically goes down to $10, and people are all like, "Oh, but the frame rate." But the frame rate's fine for like if you're playing beat 'em ups, if you're playing JRPGs, like maybe if you're playing platformers, but it's not. I still feel like it's noticeable if you're going from a Genesis to going back, but it's completely playable. Like you don't really. I wouldn't have noticed it being that bad if people didn't harp on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Or the input lag is what I mean, not the frame rate.
I'm looking at this list of SNES online games. I should play Demon's Crest.
But Demon's Crest is so good.
Yeah, everyone says it's really
so
good.
good.
I've only played the Ghouls and Ghosts games. Or
Ghouls and Ghosts is not that great.
Yeah, I know. Like I remember playing Super Ghouls and Ghosts, being like, "Fuck this game."
That game is just hard for the sake of being hard, and it doesn't
really
control
is.
well. I've never been a big fan of that series.
Should play Demon's Crest, yeah.
But Demon's Crest is cool.
What have you been playing, Spazzy? Let's start wrapping this up so you can end.
I've been playing Animal Crossing, basically just to check the turnip market, man. You got to see how that's going.
You've said, don't you have enough money?
I do. I think at some point people I don't understand the people that if you're a die-hard Animal Crossing fan and you've been playing since launch every week and you've been doing the turnips for months now, what are you doing? Why do you need that money? People are like, oh, to upgrade my bridges and move people, but I'm like, it doesn't take that much to pay off your house, build every bridge that you want. It's not that much money. So
it's really strange for this game because I did use duplication when it was available at the start, and that's how I paid off stuff. But in hindsight, I'm sitting on 10 million bells now. That's just plenty enough to pay off all of my house stuff just from playing the stock market. So it's actually pretty easy nowadays to pay off all of your rent in the Animal Crossing games. And
it's really easy to make 5 to 6 million a week. Yeah, because if you have friends and Discords and stuff, you'll find somebody that has at least 300 to 400, if not more, easy, without having to go to Turnip Exchange or whatever.
Yeah, it was actually 500 at my place last Friday, but I didn't find this out until 10 minutes to 12. When my housemate texted me and was like, turnips are 500, and I was like, well, that's great, but I'm at work, so what do you want me to do about it?
Yeah, I have... I bought I think 2 inventories worth of turnips this week, just because profit based off of the fact I had a big spike yesterday in buying price. I might have 500 to 600, But I think I'm basically done with turnips, and I'm almost done with Animal Crossing. Like we said before, I'm not that into it right now. I check if Red's there every day.
Yeah, that's
and I
what
dig
I'm
for
doing,
fossils.
checking if Red's there. And we're missing one fossil, which is the back end of a saber-toothed tiger. And that's it.
Yeah, I'm missing like one fossil too, and that's about it. And then
Yeah.
and then I turned it off after 15 minutes. I feel like I'm checking.
I go around, say hello to whoever I see, get the money tree sometimes if I remember, and then buy the next KK song I need if it's in the shop, and that's basically it.
Maybe I'll hit a rock or two, but yeah, I don't really play.
Yeah.
Like
I did buy
fine.
turnips so that I bought turnips so that I could let them go off, so that I can try and get an ant.
Yeah, I got ants. I haven't gotten flies yet.
Now I've got a pile of trash sitting outside my front door because I'm waiting for a fly to spawn.
Maybe I'll stop by your town sometime. But yeah, that's kind of the nature of Animal Crossing. It doesn't need to be anything huge. I started revisiting Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I need to buy the DLC for that. I want to go through with the DLC. That was a game that I got for quote unquote free because we reviewed it. Mm-hmm. And if there's a game that I like that I review, I like to buy the DLC for it just to support it.
Yeah.
So I'll probably go do that. Mostly though, I've just been playing Trials of Mana. I've got about 20. I beat the game. I've got about 28 hours, I think, to beat it. So, but I was definitely taking my time. I like it a lot. The voice acting is pretty awful though. It's really, really bad. It kind of... What?
Can you not turn it off?
You can turn it off, or you can switch it to Japanese. Either way, but I made a decision to go with the English voices, and I'm sticking with it.
Is it because it's enjoyably bad, or are you just stuck with anything? Gotta stay consistent.
Well, the thing is that it's definitely not the worst voice acting. If I had picked Charlotte, who's she's like a healer character in my party, I probably would have muted it because they give her like a little kid's voice. What she talks like this, and it's so bad. Like, it's actually funny because there's 6 main characters in Trials of Mana. It works the same way, and it's actually for a Super Nintendo game. It was super ambitious. I would kind of say that maybe the original is the way to go, but this is a fine remake. The combat's better in this one. The map. The actual world is better than in the original, because the original world in Trials of Mana is kind of empty. This one they add a lot of treasure chests and like sparkles on the ground and stuff to find. There's hidden little cactuses everywhere that give you bonuses, so it feels better to explore. And also, there's a lot of areas where you can miss stuff in the original game. This game always has star markers that tell you exactly where to go. On one hand, that's really good, especially because it feels a lot of the time like this is, a 2D map being put into 3D. So it can get a little confusing. They have jumping and platforming, which they added. And some of the platforming is actually a little bit of fun. But because they added that to it, it's weird because I don't know what I can jump on and what I can't jump on to find secrets. Like, it's really unclear when you can jump off stuff, when you can't jump off stuff, because it's literally like this 2D map that they built out into this huge 3D map. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And so they have these stars that tell you where to go as your main focus. And a big complaint that a lot of people have in the original Trials is that you just get lost. However, I feel like this is a little bit in the other direction, and it feels a little handholdy sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to really explore or do anything. You can, if you want to, you can just follow the path of the star.
Yeah, I remember that from playing it, the demo of it at an event.
Exactly. One thing I'll say is, I feel like the demo isn't a good representation of the game, because unless you pick Charlotte as your third character, you're not even going to get all 3 characters. And the game actually is a lot harder than the demo. There's a big spike a little bit after where the demo ends. So, but the story is good. And the way Trials of Mana works is that the story, it's meant to be played like several times. If you're thinking about playing this game, I'll give you some advice right now. So there's 6 characters, and Charlotte and Kevin share the same end game bad guys, so they go through the same path. So if you pick them as characters 1 and 2, and then whoever for the third, you'll get basically one entire story. So if you want the entire story, you really only have to play it 3 times, and just make sure Duran and Angela are one of your groups, Hawkeye and Rice, and Charlotte and Kevin. Split it up that way, and then whoever you want the third character to be. But between the fact that there's different character combinations, each character has a bunch of different class options, because you can choose between a light and dark option. And then depending on that, you can do light, light, or dark, dark. And then there's like a secret fourth, well, not secret, but there's like a post-game class you can pick too for, it's got like a 2-hour post-game. It's not huge or anything, but it's cool that it's there. But this game is meant to be played multiple times. So if you play it 3 times, it'll probably be like a 60 to 70 hour game. So there's a lot of value in it. I like it. It's just like, you could tell it's not as bad as the Secret of Mana demo. In fact, it's a good way, like I said, to experience the game. But you can tell it's done on a budget. It looks like the way I describe this is it looks like a PlayStation 2 remake of a Super Nintendo game got a remaster on PS3. That's what it looks like. But overall, I like it. I think it's a good remake, and I really hope that they use the basis of this and the engine to make a full, like a full new Mana game, like a new Mana game with a decent budget in it. That's my dream, and it seems to have done well on Switch. Looking at the NPD, but it didn't do that well, I don't think, on PS4. Probably because it came out the same month as Final Fantasy VII Remake, and if you're gonna pick a remake of a classic Square RPG for your console, it's probably going to be Final Fantasy VII, because it's a bigger game and it had more money and all sorts of,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I definitely think this game's worth your time. Yeah, exactly. I think this game's worth your time. I always like the Mana series a lot, so.
Cool. Well, that's a good way to end this up on, I think. Recommendation for the Mana series.
Yeah, that was basically a review for, like, a really fast review for that game, actually, the way I worded that, so.
So, all right, cool. Well, with that, I think it's a good time to close down this episode, this backwards episode of Good Morning Source Gaming, where we did everything in reverse and we hosted it on a Monday.
real quick. This will be like 3 minutes. Dingy Bell Jr. asked if I watch Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. No, because I didn't feel like pirating them or paying for them. I'm trying to see where I can find them, where I don't have to do either of those things. Yeah, and also Snyder Cut.
So bad.
I think I feel like I lost like 10 followers because I said I don't care about Snyder Cut on Twitter. I'm like, I don't like any of the other Snyder movies, so I don't think it's going to be great. But
I lost my standards because I saw them.
Yes, instead of watching that, I actually watched this weekend the 2 Maze Runner movies and the 2 Kingsman movies.
Kingsman is good.
I really like Kingsman.
Kingsman's good. I can't believe they did Roxy dirty like that in the second one. Maze Runner's standard, like young, the kind of young adult stuff that happened post Hunger Games. It's okay. It's not like the best or the worst. It's fine.
Well, I'll just briefly mention things we watch. I also saw all of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Really good.
One day I'm gonna do that.
And then I watched the live action Netflix movie.
Oh no!
Is it? Oof.
Way to bring that down.
So, is that a recommendation for you? Is that a recommendation for you? The live action Netflix version?
Yeah, but only
Yes.
after you've seen the Brotherhood, because you can see just how well Brotherhood actually turned out compared to what it.
Well, I hope the Snyder Cut has better cyborg stuff. Okay, that's it. That was our talk about Snyder Cut. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining me today on this Monday. Now, and I hope thanks for everyone who tuned in. I know I sort of set this up kind of late, and we just kind of blabbed on for 2 hours. But it was good. It was good to get one of these out after it'd been like 3 weeks, even if it was on a Monday, very last minute. But hey, it's going to be on YouTube. You can all watch it whenever you want, everyone who missed it. But as always, special thanks to all of our patrons for all of their support. always a massive help. Share this video, like this video, watch our content when it comes out. I've got a review coming out tomorrow for a game that I know a lot of people are really excited about. So enjoy that when it comes out, and look out for Hamada's article based on one of the games he's played recently. Which one it is, you'll have to find out when it comes out on Friday, I want to say. I'm not going to promise. Yeah. So look out on the Source Gaming website for that. Alright, guys. Have a great rest of your day off on a Monday if it is your day off. And always remember to return to Le Source.
Later, guys.
Later.